All right, and thank you for joining us with this next video. On this one, we're going to talk about how to reset your gauges and a little bit about the gauges in general. So, for example, this gauge is offset to 0. This might happen in shipping if it gets jostled, or if you or your employee is a little rough with it and you drop it, it might get knocked off 0. And so what happens is the needle slips a little bit on this pedestal. So all you're doing is putting it back into position. Now, when we look at our gauges, these are what's called compound gauges. So they read both vacuum on this side in inches of mercury over to pressure. So that would be your PSI readings. And that's the compound part of it. Now, these are not ISO certified. If your bottling line requires something that is certified, we can source that for you, but that's not what we are talking about today. Now, when you're looking at your gauges that you're running, I just want you to know that while these gauges are essentially the same, the way they mount to the systems are different. So make sure you have an idea of which one you're using. The standard kit is what we would call a bottom mount. So it has the ability for the needle to thread directly to the bottom. And this is what's used in our standard kit. Now this, here for the Vincent kit, this is a back mount. So this actually screws into our plunger and then the needle attaches here. And if you are running normally with the standard kit and someone hands you a Vincent gauge, if yours is broken, just keep in mind that these don't attach to each other. You have to actually run this one on a Vincent kit. So just something to keep in mind when you're getting set up. Now, if your gauge is off 0, one thing to make sure that you're checking for is make sure the gauge is actually working and responding properly. So how you can do that is either hook it up to some air and blow it through here, or you can just blow into the bottom, either suck in or blow out. You want to make sure that that needle is moving. If you're not seeing any movement when you're either sucking in the air through it or blowing air out of it, your gauge is broken and you should just toss it and get a new one. So in resetting the 0, the first thing you do is this little plastic lid. You're just going to turn counterclockwise. Let's see here. Sticky fingers. Okay, turn counterclockwise, and then we're just going to pull it off. And all we're doing is manipulating this needle back into place. Okay, so you want to push the back end of the needle. The back end is a little bit stronger. This tip can be kind of flimsy, and you don't want to be pushing down on the needle because you could bend it. And what would happen then, or could happen, is that the needle tip will drag on the face of the gauge, and it would either give you incorrect readings or slow readings. So you just want to be a little bit gentle with it. And the only tool you need is a little fine flat-nosed screwdriver. So here I'm going to push the back end of the needle till it's where I want it, sitting right there on 0. And then with the little screwdriver, I'm just going to try and get it into position. Not quite far enough. Let's get that back lined up and give it a little tap, and there we go. We are right on 0. So all I need to do now is just put the lid back on, give it a little turn, and this gauge is ready to go. The Vincent gauge is exactly the same. You just 0 it, pop it off, move the back end of that needle, use the screwdriver to get it into place, and put the thing back on, and you're ready to rock and roll. So in this next video, we're going to talk a little bit about the pros and cons of each of the systems, and I look forward to seeing you then.